Welcome back to Eurosport, and glad you found us. To just change channels, as you know. Here we are. Into the pits comes our race leader, the number 2 Audi of Marcel Fassler. And Jeremy, this will be starting the cycle of all the next stops, isn't it? Number 7 for Fassler. The rest are all on 6 at the moment. So,
well, that's right. I mean, you know, the Audi is consistently doing 1 lap less than the Peugeot. So pretty soon now, the Peugeot is going to be completing 1 less stop. You know, two less stops effectively. They're going to be a whole stop behind the Audis, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens then, because as we've seen all along, the Audis are not going as far on a tank of fuel, but their pit stops are faster. Plus, also on a regular basis, the Audis are going a little bit quicker than the Peugeot. So it's still very early in this race, relatively speaking. We're only what 6 hours in, so a heck of a long way to go.
We've only got 18 hours left. And a half.
So great shots here from the Rolex Air Cam that's being used this weekend as they come out of Château Rouge on down to Mulsanne, heading down to the first of the chicanes. And this is Ant Davidson again on board with him in the number 7 car. He goes back into the lead through the first of the chicanes, PlayStation, and then blasting down that second strip. And these cars reaching 214 miles an hour on this section during
it's fantastic. And we just saw Davidson there using all the road and more on the exit, actually, because he overtook a GT car there a couple of laps back, and 4 wheels completely onto the sort of hard shoulder, which sort of is a bit risky because there's a lot of debris in there and you can pick up punctures very easily.
Yeah, just saw Jack Eakes in the garage there. Of course, his concern that Tom Kristensen was going to go even further ahead in wins. Not going to happen this year.
Did the number 2 car change tyres on that pit stop?
Didn't see it. Didn't notice. Sorry, Jeremy.
No, exactly. It's hard to see because there was a tight shot there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think I'd be surprised if he didn't. He'd done 3 stints on that set of tyres, so I'd certainly be surprised if he didn't. If he's quadruple stinting the tyres.
Here's the Stracker car with Nick Leventis on board. Notice the Sun on the front. It's getting huge support from the Sun, British newspaper, this weekend, and they're following the team. They like to back winners. They picked up last year's P2 winner, and so Nick is a great wheeler dealer. He's got the Sun involved, so heaven knows what sort of behind the garage door stories will be in the paper on Monday morning.
Well, there was a few girls down there with incredibly short shorts.
Well, no doubt Stuart Hall will be close behind.
Someone told me that.
Not only we got the Sun from London, but also the Scottish Sun and the Scottish Daily Mail. They came out here in force to support Alan McNish, so I guess they'll be on the plane home tonight.
The French sun hasn't been shining too brightly today, has it? It's really overcast.
Yes.
Yeah, pleasant day though it's been. It was fairly cool earlier on, but it's certainly warmed up a little bit.
It's pleasant for the drivers, I guess, Jeremy, but I was here as a spectator a few years ago. I think it was about 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, and it was incredibly hot.
Yeah.
It didn't help that we were camping, but anyway.
But considering we're only, 10 days off Midsummer's Day, it is extraordinarily cool weather, isn't it, at the end of the day. So, here comes the 39 car coming across the line. That is the Lola of the Argentine-run Lola. Matteo Russo, and of course, he missed the race last year, had a mighty shutdown at Porsche Curves, hurt himself, hurt his back, and that car took no more part in proceedings. So good to see them back with the 3 Argentinians on board. His teammates in the Picom car, Luis Perez Compact and Pierre Caffer. Pierre Caffer, of course, not Argentine, but the other 2 in the car are. So that car at the moment is 3rd behind Freihammer and OJ. So Nick Leventis has dropped back a bit, Jeremy, dropped back to 4th place in class at the moment, but he still has a pit stop to make.
Just coming back to that DeltaWing project, I just spoke to Dr. Don Panoz, who brings that whole project an extra bit of credibility as along with those already involved. It's a very interesting project. I'd love to see how it goes. Ben has just said there that they have some 25 test days or something planned.
Yep.
It'd be very interesting to see how that runs. It's fascinating with the track on the front.
Yeah, it's
so much. And as a driver, I was just thinking there, where would you aim the front of the car going through a chicane, for example? You know, would you aim it off? Because normally you're aiming for the front, which put the front wheel on the curb, and the rear wheel will follow. Okay, maybe a Porsche or something, or actually probably a lot of cars, but the Porsche especially is a little bit wider. But that DeltaWing thing is like, you know,
Yeah,
I think if you aimed the front wheel on the curb, the rear wheel would be in the gravel.
I suppose of all these things, you have to say someone had to do it eventually, and they're going to do it. They're going to try it.
Well, someone has done it.
Yeah.
Whether they had to or not.
Right, here we go. 4th place car, number 8. We've had Nicola Minascia, who's just done one stint. Didn't seem all that long ago. He was on pit lane, actually. When was the last pit stop for car number 8? Was on lap 70, but that's absolutely right, because he's now in on lap 82.
12 laps again, yes.
Staying in the car, and he just took a fresh drinks bottle just there.
Now Nick's a fit young man. Will he quadruple as well, like some of the Audi drivers have been doing? Romain Dumas, his compatriot.
I'm sure he'll do at least 3. Stefan Sarrazin did 4 stints before handing over to Nick, so I'm sure it'll be the same this time around. It'll really depend on how the driver feels. Nick probably hasn't done as much racing as Stefan Sarrazin over the last year or two, but he's a pretty fit character. I'm sure he'll want to stay out really as long as he can.
These guys in these top teams they all have to be fit. I mean, we're all supposed to be athletes, racing drivers, but those guys will have to be extremely fit, and they'll have to do what the team are asking from them, and that will depend on strategy. And their strategy, I think they've got the wherewithal to adapt strategy accordingly with what's happening with Audi.
The rock and roll continues. So Mike Rockenfeller in the number 1 car. He comes back into 4th place ahead of Nick Manassian, and it's status quo resumed. It's Peugeot from Audi, from Peugeot, from Audi, from Peugeot. And the grandfather Peugeot, the Eureka Matmut car, Duval in 6th place. So everything's in order. The only car missing, of course, the number 3 Audi, which those of you just joining us tonight missed all the earlier excitement. Alan Inish had a mighty accident at Dunlop Curves, wrecked the car and ended that car's race, but after checkups at the local hospital, Alan is back at the circuit and bruised but otherwise unhurt.
Just a note about the GTE Pro category. It's Richard Westbrook who still leads in car number 74. They did not change drivers on that car during its last pit stop. Number 56 BMW, however, did make a driver change. Joey Hand handing over to Andy Priaulx, which means that gap has now gone out to around about a minute again, I think it was. It had been down to about 40 seconds, so it's just under a minute, isn't it? I think last time around. And third place, just over a minute. It's third place.
Just exactly a minute.
Yeah. Just scrolled through now.
Exactly, but to within a couple of thousand.
Look how much quicker Andy Priaulx is.
Well, this is it. That BMW has been doing
2 seconds quicker there on that lap.
And on a regular basis, the BMW had been about a second quicker than everybody else in the class. That's what enabled them to whittle that gap from 2 minutes down to about 40 seconds. But Joey Hand was running just as well. He was running great laps as well. But also so was Richard Westbrook toward the end of that last stint before he came in.
That's right, he was, yeah.
He was running 401s as well.
Richard's been in that car a long time now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. Is he triple stinting? Or?
I honestly don't know.
It's a big call in a car like a Corvette, isn't it? Big, heavy American muscle.
Well, I mean, most of the GTs, they don't have the downforce. There's so much more movement.
Yeah.
The roll center is much higher. The car is heavier than a GT or than the prototypes as well. So there's actually a lot more work, even though your lap time's slower.
So there's the Corvette still pushing on very hard. That's Richard Westbrook's car, and what a good job he's doing here this evening. Now we're going to start to go in tonight, and Andy Priaulx in 2nd place. Stefan Ortelli in 3rd then in the 59 car. That's the luxury racing Ferrari, which he shares with Fred Macavicki and with Jaime Mello. Yeah, Van Lagen in 75 Pro Speed car.
Yap's another old compatriot of mine from the Porsche Super Cup days. Top driver as well. Lovely guy. Good to see him doing well.
Yeah, the Dutchman's another guy making his Le Mans debut this week. It
just goes to show you, doesn't it, that when you're a top driver, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you don't have any experience in Le Mans that you can't come and do a good job.
Yeah, Joey.
I think some people should show a little less entitlement It's great for these guys like Nick Tandy. Hopefully next year, maybe myself.
I'll jump to that, Damien. That would be good to see. There's 36 rookies among the field this year, among the 56 cars, each of them with 3 drivers. Joey Hand, of course, another rookie here, just did a sensational job that last double stint that he did in car number 56 BMW. But you're right, there's a talented couple of rookies this year, and we see one of them who is leading in LMP2. We're not looking at that car right now. We're on board with the number 73 Corvette. But Dominic Kreihammer in that Oridap chassis, leading LMP2 and turning consistent and very quick laps, Mark.
Yeah, yes, indeed. That's been very, very impressive, hasn't it, here? Since the start of the race, we're now 84 laps into that race, and we are now just coming up to what, since the 3 o'clock start, 5.5 hours. Then we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes after these messages. Welcome back to Eurosport live at Le Mans. 18 is the time left for this race, so we are almost 5 hours into the Le Mans 24 hours. Just looking at the continuing battle here.
Almost 6 hours.
6 hours, yes. I've got behind myself, haven't I? So we saw earlier on Jeremy Romain Dumas have a fairly interesting spin at Tetra Rouge when he went wide round the outside of a GTM car, and Romain got back to the pits, told dailysportscar.com, he said category GTAM is a joke, it's terrible, all the gentlemen drivers for the first time here is horrible, it's dangerous. I think that's probably telling it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, he's certainly got a point. I mean, the Le Mans 24 hours these days, it's always had gentleman drivers in it, right from the very, very beginning. That's kind of one of the points of it. But these days, it has become a heck of a lot more professional, let's say, than it was even 10 years ago. How long has Romain been doing it? He hasn't been doing it even 10 years, has he? This is only his... he has been doing it for 10 years, so fair enough. But it has become much more professional now. But this year, with all the emphasis on the amateurs, there are a lot more amateur drivers in the field, particularly that now they're in the slowest cars in the field as well. So Damien, it does make it much more difficult.
I mean, you can understand his frustration. I suppose he was just also, fresh out of the car there, but. It is difficult for these GTE drivers, or even in the GT Pro category, because the prototypes are so fast, and some of these bends, just by nature, there's only one line for the GT cars, as I've repeatedly said. So it is very, very difficult, and it's just going to become even more difficult when it's dark.
Yeah, but even the professionals aren't immune to it. Jimmy Bruni, probably one of the most experienced GT drivers here, has been warned for the second time now about exceeding track limits. This time it's at Mulsanne, going wide in Mulsanne corner. Here's another one. Probably that's rather an unforced error.
And that's how you pick up a puncture. We've seen a lot of punctures during this race, and that if you want to pick up a puncture, that's a great way to do it. Start running through the gravel.
And then you drag it back onto the track for everybody else. Really, really helpful, isn't it?
Also making a pit stop now, number 66 car, the JMW Ferrari 458. Tim Sugden at the wheel of that car. They've got it up to about running 8th place in class now in GTE AM. There is the car on pit lane refueling. Tim did he get out of the car? No, I don't think he did get out of the car. So it looks like fuel only for car number 66. They've been running very well. We've still got 8 cars on the lead lap in GTE Pro.
Yep, that's right.
Still the best of the amateur classes, the amateur class cars in GTE is number 50 Chevy Corvette. It's now Julien Canal, the pro driver at the wheel of that Labre competition Corvette. That is leading in GTM by not very much, actually. I think he's just taken the lead last time around, as I say that, from Tracy Crone in the number 57 Crone Racing Ferrari F430.
You are riding with the Stig at the moment, or the Stig that was Ben Collins out there in the RML Honda, the same car basically as the Stracker car, which is 2 places ahead of it now. This car running in 5th, and of course they had their share of problems after Spa. Huge write-off for them. They've had to bring a new chassis over. This chassis you're looking at the moment is actually Andretti Green's Honda, which they've loaned for 2 races. After Le Mans and Imola, they'll have to strip it down and put it on their new chassis, the Courage chassis, which was delivered to them last week. So a lot more hours for the Ray Mallock team.
That's right, and those Courage, the HPD chassis, they were originally built by Courage Orica, what, 5 or 6 years ago now. They were Nick Worth-ized and put into, made into, with Honda backing, HPD backing, HPD being Honda Performance Development, based in North America, in California, Santa Clarita, California. They put an awful lot of work into those cars, an awful lot of money too, but still that basic chassis goes back to that original Courage Orica LC75.
You can see just in the battle for the GTE Pro class, Andy Priaulx was just taking another second and a bit out of Richard Westbrook, and has brought that gap down by about, I think, what, 6 seconds or thereabouts.
Yeah, and they're being shadowed by this man in the Ferrari, Stefan Ortelli. There we are, just comes up as we say it. There, he's in 3rd place. Stefan on board that 59 car. That's the luxury racing car. This is the one that is engineered by Rizzi Competizione, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Another 50 or seconds so behind. Here's another car that was we expected to challenge for GTE Pro honours. This is number 80 car, the Flying Lizard of Jörg Bergmeister. Had a puncture early on, lost a lap, but he got that car back up to 6th place in GTE, and that car has been running absolutely beautifully since they had that early delay. Wow.
Big lock up there for one of the Peugeots. That'll have flat spotted the tyre.
Yes,
number
indeed.
8.
It's Nick Manassian.
And that's only it's only his 5th lap out, so you don't want to be abusing these tyres early in your stint. If you want to triple or even quadruple stint them, you want to look after them. You don't want to be doing things like that.
Well, he's going to just Fred Flintstone his tyres, isn't he? Be lucky if it doesn't have a vibration from that. That looked pretty serious.
It's just number 8 garage, just thinking, will we need to bring him in or not?
I guess he's going to find that out, you know, when he gets some speed up, because
only he will know.
Yeah, the vibration. In fact, if this is it now, is that why we're getting a bad feed, because of the vibration?
Good point, Damien. Yes.
So he needs to come in. We could tell him from here.
Yes. So the race order: Anthony Davidson leading, Marcel Fassler and Pedro Lamy. It's Peugeot, Audi, Peugeot, but that will change at the next pit stop cycle. So Fassler's got one more pit stop at the moment, hasn't he? This is the pattern at the moment, because
and there is a 2nd place car in LMP2 once again. Yeah. A scheduled stop there for Greaves Motorsports. The Zitec chassis. Karim Auger came in the car in 2nd place, leaves in 2nd place.
Is this his third stint in the car, Karen?
Yes, it is.
Yep. So good job he's doing. Nick Leventis stays in 3rd place in the Striker car, but I guess he'll be pulled out after that. And car 51 again being warned about exceeding track limits. One more time, he'll get a drive-through.
You know, the more you see of this, it just goes to show you when they're really trying hard, these drivers. And even though this is a 24-hour event, they're going absolutely flat out. Engineering in recent years has you know, got to a very high standard, and there's very few mechanical issues. Even with Nick Manassi in a car that's, you know, as fantastic as the Peugeot, and he locks up a tyre like that, it just goes to show you how desperately hard he's pushing.
Yeah, so it's Jimmy Bruni. No, that's Stefan Ortelli, isn't it? We're just going past the Krone car, putting that car a lap down, and Stefan Ortelli then still in 3rd place behind.
Lovely use of the curbs there coming across the Ford chicane as well.
And Stefan grew up here. He must have been at this race for 20 years now. And
I'll go and talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Come back next year.
Absolutely perfect for him. So the Krone car there, just going through the sunset. Great to see them racing. Of course, they finally have separated from Rizzi over the years, and they're having to run it on their own device now. Krone Motorsport with Tracy Krone on board, together with Nicholas Jonsson, and bringing in Italian Michele Lugolo.
Well, while we're talking about the GT class, we've been setting this up all week as a major battle. I'm delighted that we've been joined in the booth here by Jim Campbell, who's the VP from GM Racing, and of course your presence here is primarily the CompuWare Corvettes, and it's a program that's been very successful in terms of racing. How's it perceived back home?
Well, this racing program is really a key pillar of how we take the Corvette to market. It's very well known, you know, really, you know, across the world, but it's particularly in North America. But we really focus on this program to promote Corvette, but also Chevrolet. Chevrolet is a growing brand around the world. We sell in 140 markets around the world. We're growing very quickly. We've already sold 1.9 million vehicles this year, launching a lot of vehicles in Europe, including a Cruise hatchback, a Veo, a Volt, a Camaro, an Orlando crossover. So Corvette is a way to get attention for Chevrolet, but also importantly, we learn a tremendous amount in racing the Corvette and have over the past here at Le Mans. This is our 12th year. What we learn here, we drive right into the production side of the program for cars like Corvette ZR1, Corvette Z06, Corvette Carbon Edition, and many more. So it's great to be racing. We love coming to Le Mans.
Well, now, for a number of years, you were really the big dog in the GT1 class. And actually, for a few years, particularly in North America and the American Le Mans Series, really looking for somebody to, come on, guys. You were like the prize fighter in the Carney booth. Come on, one round, survive a round, we'll give you a buck, that kind of thing. But now, in the GT2 class, you've got a big group of major international manufacturers. You're up against your marketplace rivals, your Ferraris, your Porsches, your Aston Martins, and undoubtedly over the next few years you'll see, the Lamborghinis and Maseratis and so on coming in. Now that must make it for you even more valuable, because your customers, your Corvette fans, your Corvette owners see the street cars that maybe they could have bought, and there's the justification coming in, when Corvette wins. Yeah, it's that feel-good feeling as well.
I mean, think about that competitive class. I mean, right now we're leading the class with Westbrook in the 74. There's BMW right there. There's Ferrari. There's Porsche. It is going to be a battle to the end. And so the opportunity to race against them, it means a lot for us. If we have the opportunity to win it, it would mean even more. So we love that competition. It makes us work harder every day, every race. And again, what we learn on the racetrack, we drive it right into the technical side of our program. So it's absolutely great to be at Le Mans. And as we celebrate Chevrolet's centennial, it's our 100th year.
Absolutely. Now, the ACO press conference on Thursday, Doug Fearn said on the announcement of the World Endurance Championship next year that Chevrolet would be looking at this. Now you've got the World Touring Car Championship in your pocket now, you've done that. Is this a logical follow-up to that, to go global with the Corvette?
Well, Clearly Chevrolet, we do sell it in many markets around the world, so that is very consistent. We're going to take a look at all the details of the press conference. We're going to talk to our marketing partners in all the different regions to understand their interest. It's definitely something that I'm interested in. We just got to determine through the details if this is something we're going to actually go do. In the meantime, we're focused on executing American Le Mans Series, coming to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and really putting our best effort on the track every single time.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the ultimate thing is to take your racing Corvettes and race them in China and the people there.
Chevrolet is growing tremendously around the world, including China. We're also growing in Europe, and so that's a big growth market for everybody in the auto industry, including Chevrolet. So absolutely, that anything that can help promote Chevrolet globally, we like.
Well, Jim, we see your American sports car racing on Eurosport in the Le Mans Series, in American Le Mans Series, and also here at Le Mans. And of course, we also got the Cruise racing in the World Touring Car Championship, having a very successful parallel program. And again, that's a car that's very big in expanding markets in Eastern Europe and particularly across Asia. And again, part of that, you're selling the car now in the States. So is Chevrolet looking perhaps towards maybe a US race for the World Touring Car Championship?
Well, first of all, the team has done a terrific job. They won the championship last year, off to a great start. This year they had won the doubleheader in Budapest, so fantastic momentum. We did get a race in Infineon, which is north of San Francisco and Sonoma, in September of 2012. We're very excited. I just met with the WTCC team for about an hour here at Le Mans, and we're already talking about how we can promote that. So that means a lot. This segment, the compact class, the C-class of car, it's growing like incredibly around the world, everywhere, including North America, Europe, Asia, Latin America. So very important. Cruise is the #1 brand name for Chevrolet globally.
All right, well, it's been a big success over here already. So I tell you what, you're not as excited about going back to Master Raceway, they're going to say, because on to Infineon Raceway, Northern California. Great place to race. Can't wait to see it.
Great racing.
Listen, thank you very much for coming in and joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And bring the Thundering Beast back year after year. There is no such thing as too much noise, no matter what Audi's engine designer says.
We love it here. We'll see you again next year for sure.
Jim Campbell, GM Racing, thank you very much. That's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Just Jeremy Shaw, did we manage to catch Tom Kristensen before he left? In that case, if he's around and about, we will try and whistle him in as quickly as possible. I gather he may have gone down to Radio Le Mans, but meanwhile on pit road is Audi number 1. Very busy time in the pits. We've just seen Marc Genet's Peugeot on its outlap. Rocky is in car number 1. Marcel Fassler still leading the race for Audi in number 2. Now, we said after 2 hours, Mark, are we still going to be seeing the lead changing with every pit stop after another 20? I still think that is the case. This is absolutely no give, no take. This is no quarter racing.
Audi has the pace, but Peugeot has the fuel, and this is what's happening. 12 laps each time for Peugeot, 11 for Audi, but Audi in between that can just make up the places. I think we're going to see this rock and rolling forever to probably till the end of the race, unless there's any more major drama. So Rocky stays on board, refueled, diesel in the car, drink bottle change. That's all that was needed.
But I'll tell you something else. Looking outside, the weather is about as good as it has been all week. It was horrendously wet during the scrutineering days, and it's gradually tried to rain almost every day. So far today, no spots of rain. Obviously, that now means a downfall of cataclysmic proportions almost before I finish the sentence. But just look at these pictures. Evening is coming here at Le Mans. It's not hot, it's cool, it's pleasant, it's almost balmy, but importantly, it's dry, and this race is going at a ferocious pace. They are still lapping at just about 3 minutes 30 on the nose. Little slower at the moment because they've all just replenished their tanks, but we've got a fantastic race. Audi and Peugeot both have each other in a neck lock, in a throttle hold, and neither is going to give up. Stay with us. We've only got another 18 hours and 2 minutes left. 6 hours to go at Le Mans, or 6 hours gone and 18 hours to go. I wish I could read. Marcel Fassler leads for Audi, Marc Genet second for Peugeot, ahead of teammates Pedro Lamy and Nick Minassian, and we are doing the headphone shuffle. In 5th place is Mike Rockenfeller, who's just left the pits ahead of Olivier Panis, also has just fueled. There is your overall classification with the red numbers, the P1 class prototypes. Orica team Matmut in 10th place now, the LMP2 leader from Greaves and Stracker, with Peacom Racing seemingly no penalties after all their warnings a little earlier on. They are leading the P2 class, and in GT, now almost into the top 20 is the lead GT car, flying the flag for Great Britain and for GM CompuWare Corvette. Richard Westbrook, the former Super Cup champion, is in the 74 Corvette that leads from the 56 BMW of Andy Priaulx, the 3-time World Touring Car champion. Jaap van Lagen's Porsche is in 3rd, and with the orange backing, the Labre competition, number 50 Corvette is leading the GT AM class. Julian Canal from Seth Neiman for the Lizards, and Tracy Krone's Ferrari. Both the Lizards and the Krone Racing Ferrari have just gone out of the pit lane. I'm Martin Havian, alongside me is Liz Halliday, and we're going to do the pit lane shuffle. We are waiting for Tom Kristensen to finish on Eurosport España. So meanwhile, front and centre, before we get Jeremy back in, we get Darren Cox from Nissan Motorsport in. Darren, we're going to grab him quickly. This is proper live television. It's all happening on air, and we welcome to Eurosport Darren Cox. Darren, welcome to the booth, and thank you very much indeed for your hospitality over the weekend. Great to see Nissan back here with a big presence, and particularly the LMP2 class. Your engine seems to be very much the force to have at the moment.
Well, absolutely. As you can see on the screen now, we're 1 and 2 in the P2 class. Team Orica first and Greaves Motorsport second. So yes, we're very happy with that, and you know, it's a good start to a new program we've got in P2, customer engine program.
Well, of course, we know that in Japan, Le Mans is this great big mythical thing. And for all the Japanese manufacturers ever raced here, and particularly Mazda, Nissan, Toyota we think of, who've had the really big outfits here over the years, for two of you, it remains very much unfinished business. And is that feeling still the case in this end, or have other things cropped up on the horizon? Are we likely to see more Nissan presence, can you tell us, in the future here at Le Mans?
Well, of course I can't tell you. What I can tell you, as you've seen, Martin, over the last couple of days, Nissan is full of petrol heads, basically. And, you know, we love motor cars, we love engineering good motor cars. And as you've seen from here, we've got executives from Japan, we've got our Nismo colleagues here, and we've got you know, a lot of dealers and customers here with us as well. So it really is about being passionate about what we do. And of course, this is you know, the world's greatest motor race, and it's great to be back. And now that we're here and we have everyone on site, who knows what might happen in the future.
Well, of course, Audi's involvement famously started with David Ingram bringing Wolfgang Ullrich, David Ingram from Audi UK, bringing Wolfgang Ullrich on a boys' weekend to Le Mans. And it all started with Wolfgang leaning out one of the upper windows over the pit lane and turning to David and saying, "We have got to do this." Is there a little bit of casting your line out there and bringing the guys from Nissan, just reminding them what they've been missing?
Well, absolutely. As you say, we haven't been here for a while, and it's great to have everybody here, and it's great to be having a good showing. And what's really good as well is the amount of our customers that come here enjoying the time in their GTRs and their Zs and in their old Nissans. So you know, it's great to be here, and you know, we're all enjoying ourselves. So if you think we're fishing, maybe we are. Let's see if we catch something.
Let's hope so. Mark Rostan just having a little run on that. Looks like he's just skated past the apex at Arnage. Didn't trouble the apex, actually just straight on at Arnage, but no damage done there. There's the Greaves Motorsport car that's in second position. And Karim Oj, I mean, he's been racing that car, I think it's fair to say, for several years now, that particular chassis. But actually, it just goes to show, you know, you get a good car and suddenly a brand new engine can really rejuvenate it. And there's definitely very much a leaning in the rules towards stock block engines in the P2 car. And that brings in the possibility of other manufacturers. And, you know, good for Nissan for stepping into the void. But also, I mean, the other part of your being here, we spoke already to the winner, didn't we, Liz Halliday, of the US Challenge for the GT Academy, and you're going back to Silverstone next week to do an awful lot more sorting out, aren't you?
Well, I personally am not involved in the European one, but certainly having been a part of the US show, which was totally amazing, I've seen what huge potential there is, and what an incredible involvement that Nissan has had in that, and in making it possible, really. So it's been great for me. I got to drive a few really cool cars. I got to drive the GTR, so that was pretty awesome. I'd quite like to have one now, actually. But yeah, I think there's possibly a global opportunity there with the GT Academy. And what better way to showcase what the cars can do than to have these amazing stars of the future coming through from something as simple as a game.
Well, Martin mentioned fishing, and that's exactly what we did. We set up the GT Academy in Europe 3 years ago. We've got Lucas Ordonez, who's driving in the other car we haven't mentioned today, the Signatec Nissan car, running a little bit further down the order, but currently fastest in class, I think, at the moment, clawing our way back up. And again, it was build it and they will come. You know, we found this guy. He's at Le Mans 3 years after we found him on a PlayStation, and suddenly the Americans take notice. Now maybe the Japanese take notice, and hey, wouldn't it be great to do this sort of thing in somewhere like India?
It's almost unimaginable that a gaming culture like Japan wasn't on board quicker than the USA. I mean, I know the USA has, but I mean, you know, the Japanese love their gadgets. I mean, the GTR is the motoring proof of that. You know, there's more gadgets there than in most gadget mongers' houses. So, yeah, I mean, great to see it growing. And now that you've proved that it works, you've got a racing driver that's out there, you know, on his own recognizances now. You know, it's not just, oh, we're putting up with him. He's actually cutting the mustard with the quick guys. You proved that actually the filter works, and you can hopefully go on and produce more and more guys.
Yeah. And I think the important thing in P2 this year is that I've said in the past that you know, I think the third drive is going to be very, very important in P2 this year. And if you look at the times of Lucas Ordonez, he is down as an amateur, but this guy is very, very close to his professional colleagues. It's his first time here. This is not an easy track. We've seen lots of people going off, and I think that'll be you know, the key. So we're very happy with what we're doing, and we'd like to see it extended going forward. So to have you guys looking at it, and Liz getting involved, more and more people are talking about it, and that means that we hopefully will find more and more drivers going forward.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that. Listen, thanks very much, Darren Cox from Nissan, for coming up and joining us. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, talk a little bit more about the cars in the daylight hours as we approach the end, and a bit more about your prototype project. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we are going to shuffle the headset very quickly indeed. Cheers, Darren. He's going to leave us because Tom Kristensen is at the back of the booth. So before we talk him completely into oblivion across the Eurosport network, come on in, my friend. Hey. So welcome to Eurosport in your third language of the day. How many boos can you speak to in their native language, Tom Kristensen?
No, I mean the next one will be the Japanese, and then after that I think it's the Chinese, and I think I will struggle somewhere between those two.
All right. Listen, welcome to Eurosport. It's always great to have you. It's always really nice to chat. It's always really disappointing to chat during the race when you're back in your civvies. Of course, the only matter for you, for Dindo, for the whole Audi team, was that after his accident, Alan was perfectly okay. We understand he came back to the paddock, so no questions at all about that. For anybody who's just catching up, I'm sure it's all over the news networks, but he is fine.
Alan is fine. He's having a nap in the physio lounge, and nothing broken. He's been scanned. They check him, the Audi doctor, so all that is okay. But he will for sure look like his native flag tomorrow. There will be some pain and bruises, and he's as disappointed as us. He was really going really well. We all three loved the car this morning in the warm-up. We actually commented that it was better than it was Thursday evening when I had my incident close to midnight. So yes, it's very unfortunate, but the good thing is nobody's hurt. The spectators or the photographers, or particularly Alan, all is good, and we were leading at the time. That's the only positive we take out of it.
Well, that's absolutely true. Here is the race leader, car number 2. Now, driver change here. Marcel Fassler stepping out of the car, and that's the whistle you get is from the onboard sound, so not too much we can do about that. But again, well, we've talked about this all the way from the beginning of practice. Tom, this is, I guess, in the battles with Peugeot and Audi, unique, because at almost every other race, either your car has been better known or their car has been better known, and you've had the new machine. This time you seem to be pretty much parallel in development. Both of you the first year racing, the new engine, the new aero package, and it seems to me that you are absolutely as close as humanly could be imagined. Is that how it feels in the team?
That's how it feels, and that's how it plays out at the moment. Of course, you see very interesting that we are very good in the corners, the fast corners, and in sector 2 on the top speed. Peugeot has a little bit more, but it pans out that we are a little bit faster, but has to stop a lap earlier at the moment for fuel, or maybe we are waiting to go longer later. This we will see. But this is really interesting. A V6 single turbo, and they are 8-cylinder. So in that sense, it pans out very interesting with a great lineup of drivers in both chassis.
We'll take a quick pause. Please stay with us, Tom Kristensen. Loads more to talk about after this. Stay with us live on Eurosport. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back live to Le Mans on Eurosport as we ride on board with Marc Genet. Now, he is currently the race leader, heading into the bright evening sunshine here at Le Mans. Andre Lotterer just got aboard Audi number 2. He took it over after a quadruple stint by the previous driver in tyre set. And I'm delighted that alongside me in the booth with Liz Halliday is Tom Kristensen. Tom, first of all, just that onboard camera again reminds you where you are and what you're doing. Evening sunshine, morning sunshine, is that one of the factors that the drivers have to think about, particularly making traffic difficult for you?
Yes, and it's particularly difficult in a closed car. There's a lot of advantages of efficiency and accelerating and getting to top speed. But sitting in a closed car, yeah, you don't have the buffeting, but the visibility is pretty good from where you put the camera, and it's better from the driver. They're actually in a better position than the driver's view of Jenna. He's sitting close to 1.5 meters further back and a bit lower down, and completely on the right side. So right-hand side visibility is not very good in any of those two cars. What I see is that the Peugeot, for me, has a little bit cleaner windscreen. Maybe it's probably a little bit of the way everything is round or raised, and this will be a problem when you head into the sunlight. You're completely blindfolded for a few seconds, so you just have to trust that the circuit workers have left the circuit where it is the lap before.
Oh, slow-moving Ferrari here. I think we've seen this car in trouble a couple of times before. I know that's the Hankook car. Left rear puncture. Yes, it is. So yet another puncture. Now, Jeremy Shaw studiously keeping his lap chart on who stops when and how many laps they do. We need to be starting to have a wall of punctures as well, because that is another tyre that has let go, and that's damaged the back bumper. Or did he damage the back bumper as he punctured the tyre? Either way, again, Tom, you know, every time this happens, more little bits of needle sharp carbon fibre, more flakes of alloy, all this stuff gets left on the track. Punctures lead to punctures.
Yes, it does, and that's really what we don't like at all. And there he simply went too fast as well. It's really important to nurse the car back home, because all these bits you go off and what you lose leads to punctures, but it also leads to a further delay for himself.
And of course, a lot of the debris ends up offline, but those are the areas that you're having to use in the ultimate fastest cars, sometimes to get around the back markers. As we see there, you know, often you don't have a choice, so it's very difficult. Now, you talked about just a moment or two ago the visibility, the lack of visibility in the closed cars, which of course is brand new to you. And it seems to us, I'm sure you've seen it as well, the footage of Romain's accident in qualifying, where there was a car spun at Mulsanne corner, and he, although we could see it from the camera, which is way in front of him at the front of the windscreen, he clearly could not even see the lights of the car rotating. Now, how does that change as a driver, how you've been able to deal with traffic? Does it make it, I mean, obviously more difficult, but considerably more?
Yeah, you have to definitely, you rely more on the corner workers in terms of the yellow flags in these situations and in these corners. You need to do that, and still you create a little around the corners at that time. But Dumas was not at fault at that time, because I think there was the yellows came out exactly at that time where he more or less passed the station, and that is the risk with the development of the regulation from these types of cars, because you have to go to the regulation. The A-pillar, the wheel arches with the bigger front tires is made in a way for safety in case there's something happens, but actually the visibility creates something happen. So it's a little bit the chicken eggs the wrong way around, and you have to go to the rule makers and have to look at that. But it is a challenge. That's how we have to see it, because that's what we have to race with, and we really have to be extra cautious at Mulsanne, a little bit less at Arnage, but also there, and going out of Dunlop and on Terre Rouge.
Another issue, of course, now that you're in a closed cockpit car, is going to be cooling. We understand that the Audi doesn't actually have a cooling system. You're managing to keep the car air-cooled. I think we've been questioning ourselves, and probably the viewers have been wondering, what do you do about the car when it stops in the pits so that it doesn't get the heat soak in there? Because you must keep the temperature to a certain level, of course. Is there a certain way that they've managed to do that in the car, or...?
Yes, I mean, yeah, there is right in the pit lane. Obviously, we're having the engine in the back certainly helps, but we have a fan which is running at these times when you have the ignition on, and to help all things, especially like the electronics. I think I'm sure the engineers thinks more or first of the electronics before they think of the driver. But actually, it's not such a big problem. And the temperature at this year's edition of Le Mans certainly has helped all of us in that area so far.
Well, we know from history that the only thing the engineers are concerned about are the mechanical parts of the car. The driver, that's just something we don't need to worry about.
That's why they keep so young and fit drivers, you know.
There you go. That's why they go with the kids. Peugeot number 8 on pit lane. We also just saw drive-through stop-and-go penalty for the number 42 Stracker LMP2 car. So that's really going to put a kink in their battle for a podium. But Tom, again, finally, we're going to let you go, because I know you've got an awful lot of people queuing up to talk to you. Audi have been enormously successful at Le Mans, you know, and in just about everything else that they've done. As the rules change, the team has to change the development of the car and so on. Now, are you happy at Audi generally to be led by the rules? I mean, is the way that Le Mans is going the way that the team is happy to go, or are they looking for other challenges? Are we perhaps going to see Audi doing other kinds of racing as well as DTM, or instead of Le Mans, you know, or is Le Mans still going to be a big part of Audi's program in the future? Oh, that's the question. Are we going to continue to see you coming back?
Audi finds Le Mans the most interesting race in the world. You're able to benefit directly from here to Audi's customers. That's why they like to come here. Also, obviously, for the passion, for the whole energy of these 24 hours. So I'm sure they will keep coming back. At the same time, yes, DTM is very much on the list, because there people can rely visibly to the cars which they have at home in the garages. So as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Ullrich and the bosses at Audi really knows that they are the right attitude with the racing program and at the right place. Here it's all about technology. They can come with different approaches, and the modern word in motor or in car industry today is downsizing. And I think right now you are witnessing something which is the efficiency of downsizing. It's racing at a very high level, very close competition, and it's going to be a very, very good edition of the 2011 Le Mans. The only thing for me is that we miss Alan McNish, Dindo Capello, and the Danish driver in the car number 3.
Well, we miss you too,
Absolutely.
and we look forward to coming back next year. I think you're right. I think smaller engines and a bit less power. All the same, we're going to have maybe the greatest ever Le Mans finish ever. This in 20 hours' time, we'll know who won it. But until then, I don't think we've got any chance. Listen, Tom, bad luck this year. Best of luck for the next year. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Tom Kristensen, thank you very much indeed. So great to have the good news again for those of you that may not have seen the beginning of our show and seen the beginning of the race. In the first hour, Alan McNish suffered an enormous accident just after the Dunlop Bridge, going downhill into the Esses de la Chapelle, and I'm sure if you haven't seen it, you absolutely will. It'll be all over the internet. And the very good news is that not only he, but everybody in the area, there were a lot of photographers behind the barriers where debris was scattered. Nobody injured, so that is just such great news. Car number 2, the Audi, going around the Pescarolo, and second place that car still. Third place, no, second place still Andre Lotterer, with Marc Genet's number 7 Peugeot in front. Now as Tom steps away from the microphone, so too for a minute does Liz Halliday, and Jeremy Shaw rejoins us. Jeremy, I know you've been up on top of the lap charts. It just a little bit seems to me as if that number 2 Audi is losing less and less track position with each stop to Peugeot. It was the case, I think, that both Peugeots would get by it in the pit stop, and now it's only one. And it seems again we're seeing just a slight changing of the balance of power between them. We've now got Peugeot Audi, but it does change with pit stops, and both Audis now have 8 stops. Both Peugeots owe us 1 in that regard.
Yeah, it is a fascinating contest that's unfolding here. 12 laps to go before the last round of pit stops. The Peugeot was leading the Audi by about 20 seconds or so. Right now, the Peugeot is leading the Audi by 22 seconds. So it is absolutely fascinating. Certainly the Audi appears to be the faster car at the moment. But and for the last couple of stints, the Peugeots have been quadruple stinting their tyres as well. But for some of the Peugeot teams have, at least, and there's been a mix and match there amongst how long they can take their tyres. It really is absolutely fascinating.
But again, you know, talking to Tom, as we have to other Audi drivers and engineers over the weekend, none of them even remotely think they know which way this is going to go. They know which way they would like it to go, but how it's going to finish up, I mean, if nothing else, Le Mans again indicated last year that there is no such thing as a racing certainty, except for the fact that nothing is certain. Well, we're joined in the booth by a man that has been a part of motor racing scene, particularly in sports car racing in the US for a few years. All right, we won't go too far down that path. But he's also a motor racing dad, because his son is now racing in the GM CompuWare Corvettes. If I say the 3 initials PTG, you know I'm talking to Tom Milner. Tom, welcome to Eurosport. Been waiting a long time to see Tom Milner here at Le Mans. The only shame in my eyes is that you don't have a team with you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to come to Le Mans. It is, without any question, the biggest, most important sports car race in the world. And as a father, and having been in racing for 45 years, to see your son do well out there is a terrific feeling.
Well, it's nice also to have him associated with such a big team. I mean, you've locked horns with the Pratt and Miller guys over the years, with your cars battling with their cars, and you know what a class act it is. And again, you know, it's a proud moment for any father, I'm sure, to see his son on the grid at Le Mans, but in such a good car as well, and with a really good shot. I mean, the Corvettes are going very well.
It's a great honor for Tommy to, you know, most people know that I was born in Germany, and he, of course, born in America, and he's an American. I think you can have no greater honor than being chosen for the Corvette team. That is probably the dream of every young race car driver. And for all of you that are listening there, don't ever give up. You never know what happens.
Well, now, he started quite late, didn't he? I mean, he didn't have a teenage kart career at, you know, sort of 8 or 10 years old. It took a while before he got interested in joining the family firm, joining the family business.
Well, I really have never planned it. Everybody knows that I'm not very fond of race car drivers, or at least I say that so that you keep them off your back. But when he was 14 years old, I said, what do you do with a son that's 14 years old? And so I asked him. I had some friends in California that had shifter kart series, and I said, would you be interested in maybe racing a go-kart? And he very calmly said, yeah, that sounds okay. So off we went. And for about 3/4 of the series there, I said, it's okay. I think he's having fun, but I don't have anything to worry about. It's just not going to cost me a lot of money. Well, I can tell you I was wrong.
I think every motor racing father can relate to that bit. Okay, we're okay, he's no good, oh, damn, he's quite quick. That's not really what I wanted to see.
How much of a blow was that? I mean, you expected him not to be... bad luck. Well, I sympathise with all fathers there who have sons that want to be racing those, and particularly those that actually turned out to be pretty good. But now, of course, he can pay you back, right?
Well, I don't...
Professional driver?
I can tell you, as all of you fathers that are listening out there, no matter what if you have children and they do something well, if that's playing a piano or playing tennis or studying or becoming whatever it is, when they do well, parents, of course, are proud. So my saying that and I think I can say this, I hate all race car drivers. I just hate some of them less than others. and I make no exception to that rule. So I think it would be fair to say that Tommy is on the lesser list.
All right, that's good. Well, you know, wives and children cost you money, but they pay you back in other ways. You know, there's an awful lot of feedback and an awful lot of love coming back from him as well. And, you know, it is the family business. It's what you were doing when he grew up. And so, you know, whether it's nature or nurture, I guess there was always that in his background. But, yeah, I mean, he's had to, you know, you're not Tom Milner, the Chevrolet team boss, who's put him in the Corvette. You know, he's had to be chosen by them because of what he does. So he's there for a good reason, just like all the other 5 guys on the squad.
I think in a way he's already paid me back, because if Chevrolet chose to test him and actually take him as a driver, that is a great honor, and obviously makes me very happy. I mean, he couldn't be at a better place. It's almost like family, because this is the American GT team and has been for 10 or 15 years. And yes, I've competed against them, and I've actually beaten them once.
Oh, yeah.
But it was at a pit stop competition. And as you remember, the Corvette guys were unbeatable. Well, I took $20,000 of them. That was first prize. That was a very good victory. Also, one other thing, Gary Pratt, of course, who's been a good friend of mine, and he used to be a very good race car driver, very fast, and to this day I still call him the King of Michigan. And this was in Super V's, and he used our motors, and nobody could beat him. He even beat us. The best we could do against him was second.
All right.
Now, you're a proud puffer, of course, but you're also a team owner in your own right, and you've been developing the Panoz Spirit of Abruzzi. Now, tell us, you raced kind of briefly at Sebring. What is the state of that program, Tom?
Well, we are working on it at the present time. As a matter of fact, next week, Tuesday, we will be testing in America to try to perfect the car. What basically holds us back is the certification of the road car. We all know Don Panoz, and he really does want to play us straight, and that holds us back a little bit. People that have seen the car, it's very clearly a very unusual car, and it takes a little bit of work. We are very happy that Don has chosen us to help him make this car successful, and I can assure you we'll try very hard.
When do we expect to see that car back in action?
Well, we hope within the next few races. A lot of it will have to do with you know, how well are we doing, and how is our development coming.
Right, in which case we need to let you get back and kick some butt.
Well, I'm going to go watch my son and see if he's doing okay. I think he's going to get in here sometime soon.
Have a little beer, have a little sleep, come back in the morning, make sure he's still working hard. Tom Milner from PTG Group, thank you very much indeed. Fantastic to see you. We're going to take another quick commercial break. I tell you what, they are lining up thick and fast. Obviously, the dinner bell has rung because we have John Judd waiting outside to talk to us as well. We'll talk engines in just a moment with him, but we will take a quick commercial break. Before we do that, let's bring you up to speed. Marc Genet leading in this car, Peugeot number 7 from Andre Lotterer, with Pedro Lamy in third for Peugeot, Mike Rockenfeller fourth, and Nick Minassian in fifth position. Peugeot at the moment, again, locked in a total stranglehold battle with the Audis.
Yeah, and that gap between first and second from Genet to Lotterer, when the number 2 car came out of the pits, the deficit was 25 seconds to Marc Genet in the leading car. That deficit has now been cut to about 19 seconds. So in the last 4 or 5 laps, he's pulled him in at about a second a lap.
Battle continues here. We shuffle around our guests. We'll be back in just a moment, live from Le Mans. Welcome back live to Le Mans, looking here at the battle for third place with Marc Genet leading for Peugeot, Andre Lotterer in second for Audi, and on the quickest lap of the race at the moment, Lotterer. His teammate here is Mike Rockenfeller. We're on board car number 1, and he's hauling up behind Pedro Lamy, the battle for third position. And we've seen that, first of all, early in the race, when the lead Audi stopped, the first 2 Peugeots both went by. Now when the lead Audi stops, only the lead Peugeot goes by, and the Audi that was permanently in that 4th place position, car number 1, is now just about to take 3rd place, and Pedro Lamy and Marc Genet still have 1 stop less completed than the Audis. Well, if that develops, you watch that. Oh dear, it's just about to start getting into something else. There's the 88 Felbermeyer Proton Porsche. That is the Felbermeyers, and oh, that's the Nick Tandy Bryce Miller one. So who's in 88? That is Abdulaziz Al Faisal, the 3rd driver in that car. Well, he's in the gravel, he will be towed out. On the 2nd sector of the lap, we've just talked to Tom Kristensen, and we've seen all the way through qualifying, that's where they are now. The Peugeot quicker in a straight line, but because the Audi is sucked right up behind his back bumper, looks at the moment as though Lamy can't get away. Well, again, the Felbermeyer car towed safely out of the way. He will restart and head back in. We'll let you to watch that, and watching with interest as well is John Judd from Engine Development, and of course John with a variety of, or in fact 2 different types of engine here in the field. How many cars are you servicing? 3 different kinds. How many cars are you servicing here this weekend?
Well, we've got 8 cars in total. We've got 3 in LMP1 and 5 in LMP2, and Pescarolo are running the 5-litre V10 in LMP1. Oak Racing are running 2 LMP1s with the 3.4-litre V8. And the 5 LMP2 cars are running the 3.6-litre LMP2 engine, which is based on the BMW M3 production engine.
Now, we talked about this, you and I and John Senior in the paddock a little while ago, and again we talked about this with the guys from Nissan, is that very much the rules in LMP2 are leading you towards a production-based engine, as Americans will have a stop block set of rules. But for an engine builder, that means that first of all you've got to go out and buy an engine to rebuild as a racing unit, and then of course instead of making your own parts at cost, you've got to go out and pay somebody else for them. So actually it makes it a more expensive proposition than a custom built engine.
That's correct, yes. I mean the ACO mandated production based engines for this year. For for their own reasons. Yeah, we've unless you are supported by a manufacturer and you have a manufacturer deal where we can get the parts for free, we've had to go out and buy the parts from our local BMW dealer and do all the engine design and development and still try and make a profit out of it. I mean, it is within we respect the ACO cost cap, and it should be profitable still. You know, touch wood, and but yeah, it looks okay at the moment. But it certainly isn't as interesting as developing our own racing engine.
They're trying to make sure that in this time of global finance, everybody's having to work a little bit harder for their bread and butter. Well, now, we were just watching this battle for third place. I'm very surprised that both Pedro Lamy in the third place Peugeot and Mike Rockenfeller in Audi #1, who was in fourth, have both come into the pits. That now puts Pedro Lamy's car onto pit stop 8. That's pit stop 9 for the Audi. Now we're 6 hours in, and Peugeot have got one full pit stop ahead with their third place car from the fourth place Audi, but Rockenfeller has made the pass. Pedro Lamy's still in the car, so no change of driver in 9, but that does mean that somewhere or other Audi have pitted quicker, turned the car around quicker. Now, does that mean that Audi is still on the same tyres and Peugeot have changed? Jeremy, we couldn't see that. Unfortunately, the Peugeot garage is about the one thing we cannot see from our lofty eyrie up here. It's a good view up here, John Judd.
It's fantastic, yeah. It's a great place to watch the race from, yeah. Nice and quiet, too.
I think in this particular stop, they've literally both come in exact same time in field. I don't think they've done tyres.
Well, what about, you know, further engine projects and so on? I mean, we're looking at production-based engines perhaps being the case in the LMP2 class. But there is obviously a growing trend in motor racing per se, as there is in road cars, for energy recirculation and recovery systems and so on. Do you see that as being a future need for racing engines? Is that something that engine developments are looking at, that Judd Power will be working towards as well with other partners perhaps?
Definitely in the future. I mean, it's energy recovery is on the way. At the moment, it's not cost effective for any of our customers to use it. There isn't really you can't really go and buy an off-the-shelf, fully sorted out, cost-effective KER system, but I'm sure that within the next few years that will happen.
All right, so I mean, again, we've heard from Ullrich at Audi, and it'd be interesting as Marc Genet, the race leader, is in on 100 laps completed after just over 6 hours and 40 minutes. Good, nobody off in the gravel there. They found car number 2, which is now our race leader. We heard Ullrich talking about Aston Martin going with a straight 6 2-litre engine, single turbo, to try and combat the diesel engines. And unfortunately, his response is absolutely, literally not broadcastable. But if you take out the offensive words, it makes no sense, is what he said. Under any way that he looks at the regulations. Now, obviously, in the 1960s or in the 50s, a straight 6 was a fairly robust piece of kit. But as an engine builder, are you immediately thinking, we're looking at trouble here, the crankshaft is too long, the cylinder alignments aren't right? I mean, would you agree with that view?
Yeah, we would. It's not an engine configuration that we would have chosen. If we look at the regulations and had decided that a turbo was the way to go, we'd have chosen a V6 configuration, because the engine's stiffer and you don't have the problem with the torsional problems you get with a straight 6 with the long crankshaft and the long camshaft. So it works on road cars because they have a damper on the crank, but I think on a Beretsky's right, you know, it's not something that we would have chosen either.
So what about, you know, the future of maybe smaller capacity turbocharged engines? Of course, the FIA have mandated those into touring cars, into world rallying. The FIA are now closely involved with the ACO. You know, you've got to think that, oh, hang on a minute, there might be something. What about smaller units, you know, a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo or something like that? Is that something that could step up as a P1 engine, or would something like that really only cut the mustard in the P2 class as you see it at the moment?
Well, I think you can make a 2-litre turbocharged engine work given sufficient resources. I mean, Audi and Peugeot would have no problem making a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine work, and I'm sure it would be extremely competitive. But the problem is if you try to make it for a customer team, it's not it's not the right way to go. You actually the engine capacities in LMP1, the current petrol engine capacities in LMP1 really are too small for the sort of horsepower that we need to make. 550 horsepower, and the money we can get from the teams. Really, they ought to be bigger. I mean, Audi and Peugeot would argue that they're the correct size already, but in terms of making a cost-effective engine to run at 550 horsepower for 24 hours, they really could do with being a bit bigger. And it's not very relevant for what road cars are doing, because road cars spend about 1% of the time at full throttle, whereas here you spend 70% of the time at full throttle. So it's completely different requirements.
All right, very finally, I mean, obviously, we understand that Le Mans is the most enormous undertaking for anybody that comes here. The preparation starts a long, long time ago. Right, we're going to go down to the pit lane and catch up with Lucas Luhr in a second. But very quickly, how far in advance are you starting to get engines built and preparations made and shipping ready to bring what you need to bring to service all these cars at Le Mans?
We start as soon as the as soon as the engine regulations are finalised for the particular season. That's when we start.
Lucas, just out of the car, how happy were you with your stint?
For my performance, I was really happy. Again, I only can compare against my teammate Jörg and Timo, so Jörg and Patrick, so it was really good. We don't have the pace from the Ferrari and from the Corvette, but we drive our own race, push as hard as we can and see where we end up. Car feels not so bad. Actually, it's pretty comfortable to drive. It's just a little bit slow, so maybe overnight we find some extra boost or extra lap time, but I'm happy, and it's a lot of fun.
On the bumpy parts of the track, we can see especially the lights of the Audis. They are really shiny and disturbing. Do you see it the same way?
Yeah, but the good thing is you can see them almost the whole Hunardière straight away. So whenever you are, it doesn't really matter if there is an Audi or Peugeot behind you. I mean, you know, they leave as you leave Mulsanne in the middle of the straight, and they just leave Mulsanne. They start flashing already, so you know always somebody is behind you. Now you can tell the guys are really pushing. They have no respect for the GT cars, for the traffic, but hey, that's what they have to do. I did it in the past, so I know the feeling.
The big race is in the GT category because they've got the most tire manufacturers and the most car manufacturers. Are you actually surprised to see Corvette and Ferrari as competitive as they are till now?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really follow the GT battle this year so far, but I knew that the Corvette was quick and the Ferrari obviously was very quick on the pre-test. But Porsche always built a great car, you know, really reliable. And we just have to keep pushing, you know, make no mistakes during the night hours, keep pushing, and then we see tomorrow where we end up.
Last question, why do you always come back to Le Mans?
I mean, look at it. I mean, when you hear the music, when the cars come by for the start, and you hear the people are crying, you know, and cheering, you just get goosebumps, and it's just, you know, it's the greatest endurance race there is in the world, and it's very special to take place here, no matter take part in it, no matter in which category.
Thanks so much, and a good race.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to Lucas Luhr. While that was going on, two of his GT rivals both hit trouble. We are seeing that the 88 Proton AM car is in the gravel. That's Horst Felbermayr Senior or Junior, and also Roger Wills has put the 62 CRS Ferrari into the tyre wall in the middle of the Ford chicane, so unless he can somehow get dragged across the road, he's going to have to take the wreckage an entire lap and a few hundred extra meters just to get it back to the pits. Well, we've still got John Judd with us in the booth here. John, very finally to round up, and so you can get your headset on just in case. Well, luckily none of your cars have gone off now. There's not the Hugh Chamberlain moment that we normally have, but build up for Le Mans starts as soon as the ACO send out the fax or the email with the regs on, and you're suddenly going, okay, right, we need yay number of those, and let's get building these engines.
That's right, yes. Yeah, we look at the changes in the restrictor sizes or the engine capacity from the previous year, and then you know, start developing the engine for those new requirements. This year has been we had everything ready to go about 4 weeks ago. We actually had some of the race engines already built, and the ACO then offered the teams a larger restrictor, which was slightly unwelcome as far as we were concerned, because it that just means
timing.
it means more revs and more possible problems. So we started preparation sort of January, February time is when we get going.
It does seem to happen that way all the time, doesn't it? I have to say, I've noticed that, and you always think, well, surely it doesn't work for the last minute for like an engine builder like yourself, when it's not like you can just change one thing without needing to change other things, because all the components aren't going to work as well, are they? So it must be frustrating for you to have the regulations changed all the time, it seems like.
It is. It's unwelcome, because we're least capable of changing the engine in response to the regulations. The Audi and Peugeot have far more resources and ability to respond that compared to us. It always seems to be the smaller privateer teams that bear the brunt of the regulation changes.
And of course they're changing the restrictors, ironically, try and help the privateers, and all they're doing is costing them money.
And if the restrictors change by 3%, of course the teams always want 3% more power, and we're always trying to say, well, actually it doesn't quite work like that 3 weeks before Le Mans.
And we'll have to add 3% more on the bill as well. Somewhere in there. It all doesn't help. Listen, John, we wish you the very best of luck again. Thanks a lot for coming up and chatting to us, and we look forward to seeing you for many years to come at Le Mans.
You're welcome.
John Judd from Engine Development.
My pleasure.
Judd Power. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Again, you just saw that CRS Ferrari right-hand rear corner is really badly wrecked. They are going to have to tow that to the pit lane, because there is no way Roger Wills is going to be able to drive that anywhere. They absolutely won't let him. So that may be possibly the end of the roads for CRS, but we will keep on top of that story. We'll stay live at Le Mans. More guests lining up in a holding pattern right behind us. Welcome back live to Le Mans, where our race leader is once more on pit road. Andre Lotterer bringing in the number 2 Audi. Just been joined by my TV wife, Diana Binks, who's busy filming here with Level 5 Motorsport. And Andre Lotterer, now the question is, after 103 laps of this race, is he going to lose the lead to Marc Gené's number 2 Peugeot, number 7 Peugeot? That's the way that it has worked. Every time the lead Audi has stopped, it's flip-flopped and the Peugeot has gone back in front. But Liz, that little margin is getting wider and wider. Here comes the Peugeot into the Ford chicane. This might not be that close. Out goes the Audi. Is this a big sea change? For the first time, they have come in, they have fueled the Audi. They have not lost the lead. Now that is a big step for Audi, because they are fueling on a shorter number of laps than Peugeot. The 2 lights there at the line on the side of the 7 car, again showing it is in second place in the class. So confirmation for the first time, the lead has not flip-flopped with that pit stop. Now Lotter has done 9, Gené's only done 8, but the Audi stays in front. Now, what an opposite time to go down to hear from Dr. Wolfgang Ullrich of Audi.
Dr. Ullrich, we can see there's a tough fight out there between Peugeot and Audi. I know that Mike Rockenfeller wasn't very happy with Pedro Lamy trying to swerve in and out in front of him.
Yeah, they are good friends since quite some time, yes.
Is that normal behavior on the racetrack and fighting for the position, or is that on the edge of maybe being a little bit unfair?
I mean, I would not complain, but I think it is important that at the end everybody wants to finish the race.
I know that Mike has a lot of self-confidence these days thanks to his maiden victory in DTM. Especially number 1 car is a very unique and harmony in the group. Do you see it the same way?
I mean, for sure, they are not by chance last year's winners, but on the other hand, they lost today twice 30 seconds, and now they try to recover. And it's difficult here because the others have nearly the same speed than us.
Thanks very much, and we talk to you later again. Thank you.
Well, Wolfgang Ullrich, fairly sanguine as ever when presented with a contentious problem. I tell you what, Ducks could learn an awful lot about shrugging things off their back from Wolfgang Ullrich. He seems really very unflappable, and the Audi, and that may be, Jeremy Shaw, I think, a major moment in the battle so far. is that Audi stayed in front despite taking an extra pit call, and that shows that they've got pace that Peugeot don't yet quite have the balance or quite have the answer for.
That's exactly right, and you hit the nail on the head there. This is the first time we've really seen where everybody stacked up, and we've got 17 hours to go in the race, so we're not much more than a quarter of the way through, and already the Audi has made one more pit stop than the Peugeot. So, you know, just the slightest glitch for Audi, and that's going to put Peugeot in the catbird seat. But as you just said, they have made an extra stop, and they still are out in front by a massive 5 seconds, Liz.
I think what it's going to come down to is how efficiently, you know, they can do things in their pit stop, and they've probably figured out by now exactly what the plan is. Someone back there is saying, here's the only way we can win this race, and they're going to be working that out absolutely to the most infinite detail. And I think truly that's what it's going to come down to. We're seeing them hold on to the lead even though they are pitting a bit earlier. We're getting enough into this race that we should start to see a difference. So I think it's possible, but I still believe we're not really going to see how that's going to pan out until hour 20 or something like that. So what it's going to do is keep this race really exciting for everybody there at home, because we're going to keep seeing the flip-flop of the leaders.
And it is going to be interesting now.
The flip-flop of the leaders.
Yeah, well, especially.
That's an Alan Partridge moment. Right, moving on.
What's interesting, though, is really, you know, the Audi has been the faster car. In that last stint, before the number 2 car came onto the pit lane, when the number 2 car pitted last, was on lap 92, it came out 25 seconds in arrears. When the number 7 Peugeot the leader came into the pits, that gap had been reduced from 25 seconds to 10 seconds. And now the number 2 car has made its pit stop and stayed in the lead of the race. Now it will begin to pull away. If it continues the same trend, it will continue to pull away now in the lead. So, you know, it really is absolutely fascinating the way this race is unfolding. And Mike Rockenfeller there in 3rd place in car number 1. He's just turned a 3 minutes 29.1, and we've seen most of the Audis, both of the Audis, pretty regularly getting down right at or below 3 minutes 30, whereas the Peugeots very rarely get down to 3 minutes 30 or even 3:31.
I think those last 2 pit stops, pit stop 9 for both Lotter and Rockenfeller, have really turned the tide a little bit, because A, Lotter stayed in front, and B, Rockenfeller got in front of Pedro Lami's Peugeot. So the Audis were 1st and 4th or 2nd and 4th, and now they're 1st and 3rd, and they've stopped more often than Peugeot. Now that's, I don't know how they've done that trick, but Darren Brown, the man with the sleight of hand trick, because that's a neat trick if you can do it.
Well, we've seen it all along, particularly earlier on, that the Audi pit stops were much faster than the Peugeot pit stops. That seems to have evened out somewhat more recently, and I think the Audis have been generally running their tyres for all 4 stints. They've been doing, the drivers have been doing quadruple stints. That's making 3 pit stops and staying out and continuing on to run a 4th stint, and they haven't changed tyres at all between those times. The Peugeots were changing their tyres a little bit more frequently. Now they're trying to match Audi in that department as well.
We've just been watching a few of the LMP2 cars on track as well. We're watching these Nissan powered cars, which have been absolutely dominating LMP2 really, and we've seen the PlayStation car, that car number 26 has been clawing its way back up to the leaderboard and has actually done a really good job after some of the problems they've had. So I think it's all going to keep shaking up here, and we're about to go to a commercial break, but we will be back with you very soon with some more interviews. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome, willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome wherever you're watching Eurosport's coverage across the globe, whether you're in the UK, whether you're across Europe, or whether you are in the press room in Montreal. And for 5 live viewers, and Davidson's car still very much in contention in this massive battle between Peugeot and Audi. As you can see from the top of your screen, with just about 17 hours remaining, which is Crofty help, 7 hours into the race, very nearly. And we're going to get down to the pit lane in a moment or two. You can see that Oridap leading the P2 class, still from Greaves Motorsport, although Stracker's drive-through penalty has dropped them out of the top 3 down into 4th place behind the Argentine Peacock Racing team. But overall, the lead in the P1 class, Andre Lotterer for Audi, Marc Genet in Peugeot number 7, and in 3rd place is Mike Rockenfeller's Audi number 1, Pedro Lamy in the number 9 Peugeot in 4th place. And crucially, in the last 5 or 6 minutes, certainly in the last 3 laps, we have seen both Audis stop and not lose track position against the Peugeots. They remain 1st and 3rd. And here is another definite contender for honours. They're in 6th position at the moment. Car number 10, it's Olivier Panis at the wheel of Hugues de Schoonag's Oreca run Peugeot. This is last year's car. They look, I mean, to the naked eye, and to me, certainly a doofus like me, almost identical bar the livery. But they are not quick as the front-running cars. They're a little about 4 seconds or so off the pace in outright qualifying trim, and just a fraction more away in race trim. Now, Stefan Ortelli won for Porsche back in 1998, and like Alan McNish, his teammate then, he is still here at Le Mans.
Stefan, very sweaty, and the back is a little bit sore, I guess. How was it in the car?
Quite long, but it's okay. I love it. The car is really, really nice to drive. Obviously, it's a new car, so we are quite careful right now. Running P3 is nice, but we don't push to the maximum yet. I guess it's just hard because we don't have enough air inside. The air is cool, but the ambience is a bit too much.
We can see that when the car's coming back to the garage, the tires are smoking. How hot is it in the car? Can you describe us the feeling a little bit?
Alone it should be okay, but you still have to look in the mirror and look at the sports car passing out, and you're also catching some slower car in front. I like this emotion, you know, you have to check what it is in front, what is it at the back. About the temperature of the car, I don't really care. What is important is the temperature of the engine, and the engine, gearbox, all the things are running really, really good, so I'm happy that we are reliable like that.
Lots of the drivers are always saying the car feels nice. What do you feel? The steering wheel, is it more the way the engine responds to you? What are you actually looking for?
Yeah, steering wheel is a good issue, you're right, because it's very easy to drive, and it's also a lot of the downforce for GT cars. So it gives you confidence in the fast corner. That's what I love so much in the car.
Enjoy, thanks very much.
Thank you. Stefan Ortelli, I was speaking with yesterday, and I couldn't believe when he told me this is his 14th Le Mans, and also the first time ever that he's driven a Ferrari, which seems just incredible, those two things. In the meantime, we've had some real action going on here. We're just seeing the number 83 car into the gravel, another trip to the gravel, I think it is, and at the same time as this, we've seen the number 56 BMW get pushed into the garage. There's a lot of action going on down there, a lot of, you know, fast-moving people in the paddock, so a lot of action going on at Le Mans again.
Well, we're being talked to in our ears at the moment, so we'll try and avoid that in a moment, but that is the scene that's a long way off on the run-up to the Dunlop curves. So we saw that in the Ferrari Challenge race this morning, Liz, when we were watching the cars then get to an old bit of the track, some hard standing, and then they're able to rejoin. Well, there is the classification at the moment. For those of you watching, Crofty, all the 5 Live boys, Anne Davidson's car in 2nd place. Peugeot number 7 is in 2nd place. Mark Genet currently at the wheel, and so I don't need to finish that tweet now. I've just told you all that.
But as we go down the list there, you can see in GT, it's the Corvette that still leads, but as Liz just said, that number 56 BMW, Andy Priaulx, had been trying to close the gap to Oliver Gavin in the number 74 Corvette, and that car's been pushed into the garage.
There's definitely a lot of worried-looking people in that garage as well. With the bonnets come off, I think is this is not looking.
Are you sure that's the bonnet?
I don't know. I can't tell actually. I've had my contacts in for too long.
Oh. Yes, that car is
actually, for me, it's both.
Yeah,
so.
Me too, actually.
There we go. So you just wish you could say both confidently.
And the 58 Ferrari, the Beltoise, Thierry and Jakubowski car is in their garage as well, a couple of doors up. Lots of work going on that, and that, of course, was the car with which Alan McNish came together. We're not going to say hit, because actually it was a racing thing. Nishi didn't know he was there, and the Ferrari driver, Beltoise, similarly had no idea the Audi was going to appear at the apex that he was turning into. So, I mean, we are all absolutely convinced there was nothing but sheer bad luck. This is the 3rd of our Peugeots, only 2 Audis remaining, 3 factory Peugeots. We've got Hindhoff crawling on the floor underneath us, so just time to get the
just
boot
grabbed
in.
my leg as well.
And Nick Minassian is in the pit road. Now don't forget, this car lost time early on when they were having a brake balance problem. They were changing the brake balance on that car, and while Hindhoff tries to get himself plugged in. In fact, I'm going to steal, Liz keeps trying to tail her microphone on, but I'm going to steal her headset for a moment. So if you're in the press room in Montreal, if you could alert Martin Brundle just for a moment to come and sit by a stream somewhere, because we're going to have a quick chat with the boy Alex. So welcome to Eurosport, Alex Brundle. We've seen a lot of you on Eurosport in various different championships, particularly racing in Formula 2, but not heard from you. So how's things? How's your trip to Le Mans going?
Oh, very well. Yeah, really enjoying it. It's a massively bit of a culture shock from what I'm used to in single-seater racing. No, but I'm really enjoying it. I was just spending a bit of time down at Greaves Motorsport. Kind of commented in the back of the garage, wow, there's really not much going on for you guys, is there? And they said, I know, isn't it brilliant? Because that's just the way they go racing. They want no problems. And
this would be normally where I go, and there's the Greaves car in the gravel. But in fact, as we look at race director Daniel Poissonneau, there is no sign on any of the control monitors there in race control of the Greaves Motorsport car. They are having. All right, you can say they're having a really good run. I can't, because
5 seconds in the com box, and I've ruined it for them. They'll love me, won't they? But
So the deal is, I mean, you're here on a holiday, basically, but on the other hand...
Hang on.
No, not you, Hindhoff. I'm looking at Alex. Alex
So why
Brundle.
did he do his rookie laps?
He's
He did
here.
your rookie laps
right,
and
okay.
tested.
We'll stop bickering amongst ourselves, because we're going to have a quick word in the pit lane with one of the BMW drivers. The 56 car of Andy Priaulx, Dirk Miller and Joey Hand is down there. Saw Joey upstairs a few minutes ago. Jackie Ickx is lounging out the back, dangerously near our chocolate stash, so we'll bring him in a moment.
Belgian, obviously.
Well, in that case, he won't be wanting any of our Lion bars, that's for sure. But we'll try and catch up with BMW. Stern faces those in race control. I haven't really had too much to worry about since hour number 1. Here's our race leader. So I'm holding back on asking Alex another question, because I will just get to the end of it, and then we'll hear the start of this interview with somebody from BMW. So talk amongst yourselves.
Alex, did you do your rookie laps at the test?
There we go, yes.
Yes.
Why?
Yep, completed 10 laps. I did my rookie laps because first and foremost I wanted to learn Le Mans, and number 2, I've got another member of the Brundle family pushing me because he wants to share a car with me here.
You've got a little brother, have you?
Uncle Robin?
Yeah, well, Uncle Robin can get you one, can't he?
Is that your mum?
He's pushing me as well, but I'm not sure. So yeah, we desperately want to come back to Le Mans together and share a car.
I've heard that next year that your dad and DC might be here, so then they'll have to do the commentary for F1 remotely from here later on after the race.
Well, no, this is following in a tradition, because of course we've had the Andrettis here, we have had the Bells here, Derek and Justin. Who else? Well, Jackie and Vanina have never raced together. There's too much of an age difference between them, but it is a big thing. I mean, you and your dad have raced together before. You've done sort of mini endurance races. You raced in the Lamborghini Gallardo Super Trofeo and things like that. He raced against you in Palmer Audi at Spa, and nearly convincingly won. But that was a few years ago, before you had enough miles under your belt. But there is obviously, a big thing about being a racing driver and having a chance to race with your son. Now, is that something that he's talked about for a while?
Yeah, I mean, we did that thing obviously where we raced against each other, and then I think we pretty much agreed at the end of that weekend. You know what? I think we prefer the dynamic of racing together. And we haven't finished a race. Actually, we finished 1 race outside the top 5 together so far, and won 3. So it's all going remarkably well for us, which is really promising. And we're just looking. Part of the reason I'm here this weekend is just looking how to take it one step further. And I would absolutely love an opportunity to come and drive a race car here together, and it'd be fantastic.
Well, no, see, you're looking at this really with slightly different eyes as we watch the 56 BMW back out from Schnitzer and drop down and ready to race, which I imagine is why we didn't get the interview we were hoping for, because the driver's still in the car. But as a driver, you are looking at it with different eyes. Oh, here's Andy Priaulx.
Andy, your car back at the pit lane, it just went out again. First information we got was misfiring engine. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, the car was running really well, and then on the last lap, picked up a misfire under heavy load, and yeah, the guys have repaired it now quickly, but I think we've gone a lap down, which is a shame, but it's still a long way to go, so remain positive.
It's a 24 hours race, so you never know until the end, but it's a lot of bad luck for BMW right from the start.
Yeah, it has been. Well, our car was running really well, and then of course now we've had the misfire. So, but you know, things can turn around pretty quick. So we'll remain positive and we'll push hard.
A couple of the other BMW drivers told me, like, in the traffic in Le Mans, you actually understand how the others back at Nürburgring feel when you are blasting past them. How difficult is it really?
It's really awful. It's very awkward. I mean, the cars are weird in the GT class is very competitive, like the front, and yeah, we're putting the cars right on the edge, and these guys have got so much more speed, and you're a mobile chicane, so it's really hard, but that's part and parcel of sports car racing, and you've just got to sort of relax and settle into a rhythm.
Thanks very much and all the best.
Andy Priaulx there talking down in the pit lane. Alex Brundle with Martin Haven and myself, John Hindhaugh, in the booth for Eurosport. Your dad did, talking about driving with your dad did the Rolex 24 at Daytona and did rather well. How much of a nightmare was he when he came back from that?
Oh no, he was amicable for quite a long time actually. No, he was in
can I borrow the car?
And he was in a great mood after the weekend, and he still loves racing and loves racing successfully even more.
They led that race.
I know, it was brilliant, and he came back with a real belief in himself that, you know, he's still got the pace, because obviously, you know, when he left, there wasn't doubts in his mind, because he's been a professional racing driver for years and years and years. But you know, it's you get to the point in your career that he's at, and he has to go out there and prove himself that he still has it, and he very much still does.
I don't want to sort of be derogatory in any way, but do you think he actually felt maybe a bit surprised that, having been retired really from top flight motorsport for such a long while, actually it came quite easy and quite naturally back to him?
I think others were more surprised than he was.
Right.
You know, he was confident before he left for the weekend, and he always has an outer confidence, which is something I respect a lot about him. And I think he was confident to do a good job. But you know, there's always that kind of shred of doubt, and I think he extinguished that with his performance.
Well, he certainly made it a very interesting last few laps, and the rest. I mean, it was a great Daytona, no question about it. Another real humdinger this year, and he certainly has played his feet in. And there may well be quite a lot of fans there in the American sports car audience who didn't know who Martin Brundle and Mark Blundell, those famous indecipherable twins that the Japanese used to hire, were. But I think they've got a pretty damn good idea now who they are and what they can do.
Alex, was it hard for you to say to your dad, I want to go racing, or did he encourage you, or you know, how did that work? And I mean, obviously you had to start quite young and do karting, because I know that's how you came up through. You did T-cars as well for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was something that came from such a young age that actually it transferred from a kind of a very young, you know, Daddy, I want to be a Formula 1 driver, into Daddy, I want to be a racing driver, into, you know, Daddy, I want to go training, you know, and all of a sudden.
And what was his attitude to that?
Very good. I mean, he never pushed me. Absolutely never pushed me. And there are several times all through my career, and he always picks good moments where I'm having a difficult time. And every so often he just takes a rain check and goes, do you still want to do this, son? And the answer's never been anything other than yes within 3 seconds. So
he said to me at Daytona, I did an interview with him, and I said, how's it going? He says, great. He said, the only thing is now I'm going to have to really choose my words carefully when I go back to Alex, because everything I tell him not to do, I've just done in the first practice session, and remembering just how hard it is to get back into it. It is, I think, a lot more difficult than people realise. Just because you are the son of a racing driver, it doesn't make it that much easier.
Yeah, I think a lot of people assume it's completely positive, and there are positives to it. You know, you can't deny those. But there is a negative element, which is having to perform, you know, from the outset, and people dismissing you. Because
he's only got there because of his dad.
Because you're in the limelight, and when you've got opportunity, you know, if it goes well, it was because you had the opportunity, and if it goes badly, then you messed up the opportunity. You know, the way I see it is you've got to make the most of everything you've got, because people judge you in relation to the opportunity that you had. So, you know, I just maximise my situation, and I don't worry too much about what people say.
Sports cars then part of the future as a long-term plan? Have you given up on single-seaters, or are you going to try and do something in parallel?
No, well, I'm in a single-seater this year, and it's going okay. 2 podiums last time out in Formula 2, lying 5th in the championship. So I'm happy with my single-seated career as it's going. It's moving on, but I think as a prudent racing driver in mid-recession, as a British driver, you have to plan for the future. And if you want to be a professional racing driver seriously, then you've got to look at all the options, and that's just what I'm doing.
Good to have you here, and thanks for your time, Martin. 2 Peugeots in the pit.
2 Peugeots are in the pits, John collapsing there, and thank you very much to Alex Brundle for coming up and chatting to us. And yeah, a lot of people on Twitter reminding us that Nige drove with his 2 sons, but I was trying to think of more positive references there for that one. Really looking forward to seeing Martin Brundle and Alex Brundle together next year. Possibly no surprise that Alex has been with some of the Nissan guys this weekend as well. Now, actually, before he puts the headset on, I'm going to refer Stuart Hall very quickly to a tweet, and then we'll pick up the coverage again in a moment. As the Orica team, Olivier Panis. Now, Olivier has been in Jeremy Shaw since the beginning of the race. I think that's just about correct to say. He's been in that car a very long time. That has got to have been a quad stint, surely. So what does that mean? 3 stints only? Goodness me. I really did think he'd been in a lot longer. There goes the Orica car out of the pit lane. Car number 10 is in 6th position. So still the top 6 places are diesel engine cars, although one of them is not a current or factory run diesel engined car.
Yeah, the number 10 car, it's now doing pit stops only every 10 laps. It started off, its first stint was 10 laps, then it went to 11 for a couple of stints, and now it's back to 10 laps per stint for the 2010, the grandfather Peugeot from last year. Also, the number 9 car was just on pit lane.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why they've handed over to Pedro Lamy to Sebastian Bourdais, but that was he only did a triple stint. Did Pedro Lamy, and that was only 9 laps.
And I can tell you why.
Previous stop, and the stop reason is
he couldn't see through the windscreen.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we've just had Tom Kristensen down in the Radio Le Mans booth saying that whilst in perfect conditions, the sight lines out of the front of a Peugeot is better. Sorry, that was yes, it was Manassian, and he's been saying about the difficulty seeing out the windscreen as well. Whilst the Peugeot has better sight lines when the windscreen is clean than the Audi, it seems to catch a lot more dirt on the screen. Martin.
Audi on Put Road, as the camera shows us, Mike Rockenfeller. Also, just to double check that we got this, that Pedro Lamy has handed over number 9 to Sebastian Bourdais. We did make sure of that. We were going to take a quick commercial pause. However, we'll just watch this pit stop again. The bottle is stuck into its little holder, and it's a dry brake system, so it's immediately into the pressurized system for the drinks. See how much work going on there to clean the screen on that Audi. Tom Kristensen mentioned how much cleaner Peugeot's screen looks from the onboard camera than their own, and that is something that they want to avoid hampering their drivers. Audi lead the race. Dusk is here at Le Mans. 16 hours and 40 minutes of the 2011 24 hours remaining. We are barely even in it. And just look at the sky that has threatened so much nasty weather over the last few nights and has produced plenty at the beginning. During scrutineering, a lot of people got very, very wet indeed. And today we have got an absolutely beautiful sunset. Now we're waiting to try and get an interview with Olivier Panis. He was in the Orica Peugeot, the number 10 machine. And so we'll just kind of hang fire a little bit. We'll bring you up to speed with Andre Lotterer, our race leader, and Panis's car in 6th position.
fine, but when you came out of the car, you weren't really happy. Why?
Yeah, because I have a lot of trouble with the tires. We keep the medium tires, and I see the temperature is a bit cold, and it was very hard, and I'm not very pleased, but I mean, everything doing well, the car doing well. I think now we change for soft tires. We'll see what happens.
We can see that the car was like moving a lot on the bumpy parts of the track. Did you lose the grip?
Yeah, we lose the grip after the second run, but I think it's just the tires because temperature is too cold for a medium tire.
Were you happy with the performance of the other two guys so far? Because you are still the best of the rest.
Yeah, well, he's doing a very good job. I mean, Nico and Loic was pretty good, pretty quick, very consistent. I think this is what we can do to finish the race and maybe on a good position.
The sun is gone by now. It's the typical Le Mans atmosphere kicking in. Extra motivation or more difficult?
Well, I mean, I very like this situation, this weather when it's going night. It's very nice to drive on this condition too. I like both conditions.
Thanks very much and get a rest.
I've just seen that looping spin for the 64 car and a garage door coming down
79
on the Aston.
Yeah.
Sam Hancock, Simon Dolan and Chris Bunkum's race. Well, generally speaking, you're not supposed to bring the door down unless the marker of doom has been applied, and I'm afraid, I don't know, what have we done with the marker? Mark Cole's lost it somewhere. They have retired. Hindhoff, your first official duty in the seat. Marker of doom card number 7. Oh, we have marker of doom already. I'm very
marker of doom.
Very disappointed to hear that. Hopefully, we'll try and get some of those boys up to chat to us because they've been really, really friendly to us in the hospitality unit. We were hoping to have Darren Turner on air earlier. That didn't quite happen, so I'm afraid we were fed a line there. Joined by John Manchester from Zitec in the booth, and again, Zitec with an enormous presence pretty much everywhere you look on the grid. So we talked to John Judd a little earlier from Judd Power about the build-up to Le Mans. For you, you know, with chassis customers, engine customers, there's an awful lot going on before the 24-hour race. For you, when do you start? Do you start Monday after, or does it take a little while before you start to make those plans?
Yeah, obviously supplying both chassis and engines is an enormous amount of planning to do, and the logistics to service both are quite big. We've got 4 teams here this weekend two using Zitec cars and engines and 2 using Zitec Nissan engines. So yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of preparation, and I guess from the start to get prepared, once you know who's got an entry and building up to it, it probably takes you three months to plan. So it's a big thing in terms of, you know, getting all the kit ready, getting the spares ready. Logistically, it's quite a big job, yeah.
Well, the entries are the thing, aren't they? Because, you know, they're by no means guaranteed for anybody, realistically, although, you know, you pretty much assume Peugeot, Audi, Corvette, you know, Felbermeyer, the Porsches are going to get in, a few of the other key teams. But certainly in the prototype class, and I would have thought perhaps even more particularly in P2, there might be a surprise. I don't know whether you've had it in the past where suddenly somebody at really quite late notice has sprung off the reserve list and suddenly gone, okay, we really do need that full service that we sort of tentatively asked for.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened to us this year, unfortunately. We've got a hybrid program that we're working on, and the team that we'd sort of done the agreement with, unfortunately didn't get an entry for whatever reason, which we was a little bit disappointed with, probably a little bit surprised about, especially with it being a hybrid program. But you have to work these things to your advantage, and we have done. So we've taken the lost time where we're not here to do further development work and get the product ready for for racing.
But you can see again as we look at the screen how darkness is starting to have an effect. Not only does the heli shot look absolutely stunning, but you know, you can see cars now missing their orientation points, missing their braking point there. We saw one of the Ferraris getting it wrong at the Ford chicane, and this is all something that, you know, as a constructor, really, I suppose by the time things arrive, that's it, you're just here really to kind of, you know, pat them on the back or taste the champagne if it go well, because it's sort of out of your hands.
Yeah, unfortunately, champagne's probably not tasted often as we'd like to, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can once the car's out there, you can't really do anything. Obviously, if there's a problem, then yes, you do your best to react to that problem if the car comes back to get it fixed and get it running again. But largely, you sort of, you know, it's out of your hands really.
John, how frustrating is it for a company like Zitec, who've been right at the forefront of hybrid technology, that we still haven't got a, in inverted commas, proper set of hybrid rules to go racing with in in what is a very technically innovative sport.
Yeah, I think it's extremely frustrating, and from our point of view, disappointing. You know, as you know, we've been doing hybrid work since '99 when we came here with the Panoz car, and to probably still not have regulations in place. It's not ideal. We are working with the ACO and we are talking to them, and we're trying to work alongside them to come up with a regulation that obviously suits the hybrid system. But I think from our point of view, you know, we've got a program that we've put together. We've got a hybrid system that's already proven in the Super GT car in Japan, and to not get that entry was, for whatever reason, I don't know, but somewhat disappointing to us, really.
Last time we talked earlier in the season, you were very close to perfecting effectively a bolt-on system for racing applications. How's that coming along?
Yeah, well, the idea of the P1 program that we're currently working on is going to be the basis of that. We want to develop the system, as I said before, use one car team, develop it throughout the season with that team, and then hopefully be at the point where we've got a system that is almost an off-the-shelf bolt-on hybrid system, because we feel that very much is part of the future of motorsport.
Caught me slightly unawares, just checking the phone there.
You weren't tweeting by any chance there?
No, I wasn't. I was answering a text from friends, actually. Looking down at some of the other, of course, you know, the Snake Lady, the Dodgems and everything, the Ferris wheels we're very used to seeing. And in the last year, now this is an idea we talked about many, many times over beers. We ought to bring a flatbed, we ought to get some bands, we ought to put on a show in the campsites. They've done that over the last few years. They had UB40 headlining last year, they had the Stranglers the year before. And yes, Johnny Borrell and Razor Light are the big draw this year. Now, of course, in the 80s, whether you could have heard them over the Mazdas, God only knows. But, you know, with the different technologies here, I mean, one of the delights for us, for me and John, and for all the other fans that are out there who don't have microphones, is the variety of sports car racing. You know, the different shapes, different sounds, and you're responsible for part of that. What about the future? Is it, you know, we've seen a parade of electric racing cars here. Now, obviously, in the end, we want to try and burn less fossil fuels and, you know, make our energy in other ways. But at the moment, it does seem that motor racing is going to take a long time to wean away from 20th century technology, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, whilst hybrid systems have been developed for road cars for many years now, to put them into a race car is quite a big demand, because it's operating in a very hostile environment. But I think ultimately you will see it has to come, the change has to come, and you will see more and more hybrid systems, KERS systems, whatever they want to be called, coming into motorsport. I think there's no choice. It's a way of educating the public, I think, to say, look, you know, you can have a hybrid system, a KERS system, but it's still exciting. It's still, you know, going to get the performance that people expect out of a racing car.
I think people might say, well, why aren't Honda here doing it? Why aren't Nissan here doing it? Why aren't Lexus here doing it, that have these systems already working on road cars? But to my mind, you're like apps developers, or you're like games developers. You're not Microsoft. You're some guys who make a plug-in that works with a Microsoft kit. And a small company like yours will drive things along at a much quicker rate of development maybe than some big megalith that has to have all the correct boxes ticked and has to make sure that everything is utterly proven before it goes on a road car, because of course you make it as proven as you can on a race car, but it's not always, you know, road car standard. It is for racing.
That's right, absolutely right. And I think, you know, in the past a lot of people have said to me, does road car technology, does it get fed from motorsport? And I think in a lot of cases it probably doesn't, but I do think with hybrid systems it will. It's going to be developed in an environment, a very sort of, you know, competitive, hostile environment, and I think it's going to feed down to road cars for sure.
John Manchester from Zitec Systems, thank you very much. We are going to swap channels again for our international viewers in just a second. Stay with us.